I'm Kristine Weber. Welcome to my weekly live stream. One of the things I love to do is help mature yoga teachers to get their wisdom out there and help people understand the benefit of what they teach as well. So I think that's one of the things I've been very passionate about for a number of years now because there's such a push in the cultures in general, especially in American culture, towards youth and the value of youth, the value of hypermobility and acrobatic kind of yoga. Like that's really popular out there. And so I think it's important for there to be other perspectives. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do. Okay, all that being said, today I want to talk about the student who comes to class and is not happy with the slow mindful yoga that you're teaching and what you can do about that. I want to give you a couple of tips. The first thing is let them move, I mean, because I'm going to explain why they come with that in a moment, but let's the first thing is just let people move. Like let them do what they need to do. So teach them 10 sun salutations and stay in chaturanga for a while and do a bunch of down dogs. Like it's okay if you're working with people who are not athletic, however, and they come and they still want more. That's different. And then we want to do things that are less risky. So one of the things I like to do is swinging twist. Simple, it's from Qigong, a simple practice where you just let the arms wrap around and you can sort of tap the opposite shoulder. So this is one of the ones I'll do often in the beginning of a class when I feel like there's a lot of sense of you're not going fast enough, you're not doing enough. So that's a good one to start with when you're talking about people who are not elite athletes or athletic, I should say. Like athletic people, go ahead and do a bunch of sun salutations. That's fine. I like the swinging twist. The other one I do is shake it off, where you shake out your hands a lot, shake it out to the side, shake out your legs, all that. That shake it off is another one. So those kind of quick, I call them quick energy movers. Those kind of quick energy movers are often appropriate for people who are coming in there like, I'm anxious. I just had all these things I had to do today. I had to work for 8 hours. Then I came to yoga and my nervous system is keyed up and I have to go to the store and blah, blah, blah. You know the story, right? We all experience that sometimes too. So it's good to know how to regulate your own nervous system. And if you need that kind of a little bit of a push, do you need to do down dog for, several breaths? Do you need to do a bunch of warrior poses, a bunch of balance poses? Do you need some quick movement? Often that will be helpful. Okay, now here's the next part, which is why don't people like slow mindful yoga? And I'm not saying everybody, many people love it, but why are there people who don't like to go slow? What is that about? So I will tell you a couple of stories. I have had people say to me in my classes more than once, I don't like this. It's not real yoga. I've heard that comment. I've heard people like right to my face. I've heard people say, "Oh, I used to study with you when I was a beginner, but now I do real yoga." People have told me that, that's always a nice one. It's like, okay, I can work with beginners, I can work with advanced practitioners, I can work with anybody, but to be told that I'm the beginner teacher, and I've been told that many times by studio owners, etc. I've also had the comment of, I don't like doing yoga with you because I prefer the dancing kind of yoga where there's good music. It feels like dancing. So they're talking about vinyasa, right? And dancing is lovely, by the way. Go dance, enjoy yourself, or go to vinyasa. I don't care, it's fine. But what I teach is very different from that. And I don't try to force what I teach into that vinyasa box because it's not that. That's not what I do. That is for flexibility and exercise. Enjoy. What I teach is nervous system regulation yoga. And the way that I sequence and this is what I tell people, I'm like, the way I sequence my classes is a way to help you change not just your state, but eventually be able to change your traits to become a less intense, high strung, high blood pressure, chronic disease person, right? And to become who you could be, which is somebody who responds rather than reacts. And your nervous system is, you're trained your nervous system to learn how to respond to events appropriately, not to always go into hyper arousal, right? So I teach people that, and that's what I teach in my classes. This is nervous system yoga. It is not elite athlete or exercise based yoga. Yeah, you get some exercise from working with me for sure, but your nervous system is what's going to change. And when your nervous system changes, guess what? So does your mind. And you stop calling yourself an anxious person. And you realize that that's not a personality trait. That was something you learned probably in your childhood. And so that leads me to the last thing I want to talk about today, which is why people can't tolerate fast classes, I mean slow classes, and want fast yoga. So, by the way, there's a ton of research about how good exercise is for you. So I would never say don't exercise. I would never say don't do that. What I'm suggesting is you also need to do what I teach, right? But why can't you? Why can't you tune in and notice the sensations in your body? Why don't you understand how to work with, your pelvic floor or your diaphragm or your abdominal muscles in the breath? Or why do you have a hard time feeling, just being present with feeling the breath and the sensations of it in your nose and how it strokes the back of your throat and all these things that I teach? And why is that so intolerable? Typically, it's because people have unintegrated or unresolved traumatic experiences that have lodged somatically. So they're in their body. And the idea of going in and feeling the body is terrifying because that will start to disrupt the patterns that have you've laid down that have kept you feeling safe and has kept you feeling like you can move on with your life. These are typically intrinsic, they're below the level of consciousness. People don't know they're there. All they know is that when I tell them to start feeling into their body, they do not like it. I want to go away because I don't like that. You're asking me to change something that I put in place 30, 40, 50 years ago, and that doesn't work for me. Okay, that's fine. I would not I'm never going to argue with someone who comes up and says, I hate your classes because they're too slow. It's just like, okay. But if you want to know, then I'll share what I just shared with you. And then I will suggest that you both keep coming back to my classes and move slowly. And when you need to, take a break from all the interoceptive awareness stuff and do some push ups or whatever you need to. And at the same time, please start working with a psychotherapist who specializes in trauma integration and recovery, because that's the person that's going to help you to start to be able to unravel some of that neural patterning and holding that in the long run leads to a lot of disease processes, the holding that we have in our body. So, these are some of the things that I share with people who are open to listening. Some people are just like, that's not real yoga, and they're gone. I can't heal everybody's trauma. Like, that's not my job. But when somebody's open to it and they think like maybe there's something there that I'm missing, I'm very happy to explain, yes, there is, and here's what it is. And I think if you're going to teach slow mindful yoga, you have to get really good at explaining this stuff, at helping people understand that you're going to help to unravel their trauma, that there's benefits to this work that are just as important as any other exercise benefits, that it's different than fitness yoga. I mean, if you follow me, you hear me talk about this stuff all the time, right? I think it's just really important because otherwise, you're going to feel like a second rate teacher. You're going to feel like the teacher who can only work with beginners, or who can only work with, old people, or only work with people with, mobility issues, whatever. Which, by the way, those are all great populations to work with. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. But if you're trying to, if you're like teaching at a yoga studio or you're teaching in a gym and you're trying to justify what you do, I think it's very important to be able to tell people that there's benefits that go beyond exercise here. So I hope this is helpful for you, and feel free to follow me for more tips like this. Also, feel free to sign up for my newsletter, and that's at subtleyoga.com. Thanks. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. Lots of love.